Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and I'm so excited to bring you another episode with my co-host, Carrie Bennett. We are really enjoying giving you this show and talking about these topics that seem really complex so that we can help them be a little bit more understandable to the everyday person. I just wanted to remind you to head down into the show notes to make sure you get my free resources and Carrie's free resources. We've both spent a lot of time compiling our favorite list of products, as well as how you can actually implement a lot of these things into your daily life for free using our guides. We also both have amazing courses that you have access to in the show notes as well. And we co-host a course together called Quantum Fertility. We've actually had some quantum fertility babies just born this summer, and we have several quantum fertility pregnancies going on right now where women were told that they were not going to get pregnant, and we have been able to show them the way using these circadian principles and quantum biology, and we're so grateful for this. So make sure you head down to the show notes, check out those resources, check out those courses. And if you are enjoying the show, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, leave us a comment. And if you're listening on the podcast app, please head on over to Apple or Spotify, leave us up to a 5-star review. Since we are such a brand new show, we want to make sure that we're getting this message out to as many people as possible. Again, we want to make these concepts of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable and applicable to the everyday person. We want you to pull up a chair, come hang out, and enjoy this conversation with me and Carrie, and have a fantastic day. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. Today, we want to have a little bit more of a lighthearted discussion, I guess. Last week, we talked about histamines and got a little bit more into science. And this week, we want to have maybe more of a common sense, lighthearted type of conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this comes from, just questions we get in our private communities or working with clients. And it really centers around the idea of perfectionism with this type of a lifestyle, or any lifestyle for that matter, whether you've switched, all of a sudden you wanted to try keto or carnivore or vegan, or it's like there is this tendency I see of people to want to do it perfectly and then to really sweat the small stuff, and that it's unnecessary. So, I mean, it's almost like maybe we can give people here's the range of, how this can work. And no way greenhouse grown food is not going to completely disrupt your circadian rhythm, even if it doesn't contain the exact light signature of your environment, right? So I think we need to kind of talk to people about the spectrum of it, and maybe more moderation when it comes to understanding and applying this lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one thing I think I get a lot of messages and emails of like, okay, I have to do this at 5:30, this at 6 a.m., and this at 7, this at 8 a.m. And like, they have like this regimented, schedule. And like, how do I do the light part? How do I do this? How do I do that? And, if my husband turns on the overhead lights at 11 o'clock at night, did I just ruin my entire day of everything I've done? I think people they're scared of like a 30-second blast of blue light in their eyes, thinking it's going to ruin everything that they've done. So the good news is it's not going to, right? Because your body's not stupid. It's a flash, so it's not going to ruin everything. And like you and I have talked about so many times on the show, that stress component gives you more mitochondrial damage, gives you more of a cortisol hit than the blue light, right?
Exactly. I was guilty of this, right? Because I was of the mindset that that was really my mindset with things like an elimination diet or sugar or calories, right? And so I bet you people will resonate with this. It's like, oh, well, I ate a chocolate chip muffin at the end of my lunch and my day is ruined now, right? Like I might as well just eat like garbage the rest of the day because it doesn't matter. I can't recover from that.
Right.
Like, golly, that's a mindset that I used to have with a lot of this stuff. And that's toxic, right? That was really toxic. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said of the perfectionism and the stress that comes along with it is way worse for the mitochondria than that darn bran muffin or chocolate chip muffin or whatever it was,
Yep.
in the first place. And so I think my mantra throughout all of this is consistency over perfection. It's
Yes.
been my mantra for a very long time now, because perfection, when you're trying to be perfect all the time, the only option is for you to fail at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when you do things consistently over time, it gives you a lot of wiggle room, and it maintains progress, because the body works on consistency more
Yes.
so than it works on perfection.
Exactly. And I think it was you when I first started all this stuff. You talked about this, the benefits of sunlight, right? So if, like, say Tuesday, you can only get 5 minutes, but Wednesday you can get 20 minutes, right? That is kind of gonna even itself out. It's not like, oh, I only got 5 minutes, my body is gonna suffer. If I get 20 minutes the next day, it's kind of going to balance the other day out, right?
Yeah, a lot of what we talks about here is nonlinear, meaning consistent
Exactly.
stimuli drive processes in the body. And so,
Mhm.
the human body is not stupid.
Right.
Every opportunity you have to sync up to natural light, even if it's 30 seconds, is a very good opportunity for your body to optimize things. It doesn't mean that if you were in a fluorescent lit office environment for the past 2 hours, that your body is just tanking right now, right? What it does mean is that your body is saying, okay, let's figure out what time it is. And then boom, you go outside for 2 minutes and your body's like, oh, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, here
Mhm.
we go. Right. And so I think it's really important for people to recognize that, like, the body isn't stupid. It's not trying to work against you. It's just looking for key signals consistently throughout the course of a lifetime. Those
Mhm.
signals, and a lot of those signals do happen to come from our external environment. And so that's why we do talk a lot about our light environment, our non-native EMF environment, because if we can optimize those and put those in place consistently, the body comes to homeostasis, and it brings upon a healing response if it's needed.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just try to do our best, right? No one's going to get all this stuff perfect, especially when you have a busy life, you have a job, you have people that you live with.
Mhm.
You cannot control children. You can't control spouses. You got to do your best here, and don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I think
Mhm.
that goes for the food part too, because everyone kind of assumes that you and I eat perfectly. And I try to talk about it as often as possible that, yeah, I went through a couple of years where I was like super strict carnivore, overly obsessive about things, and it actually backfired on me where I gained weight. I started having hormonal issues. There was a lot of problems, and a lot of people glorify these diets and they do wonderful things for people, but for me, there came a point where it just began backfiring on me. And so I had to find a new way, and that was tough because, like, I had this Instagram page where I was talking about the benefits of the carnivore diet, and I had to pivot. I had to take a step back and I had to say, wait a minute, you know,
Mhm.
this is no longer doing for me what it was. And that can be really hard for people when they get super attached to a certain diet or a certain guru that they admire so much, of just thinking like, this is not coherent for me and for my body anymore. And I have to do something different. And, having that struggle and kind of having to go the other way and figure out what did work for me was amazing, because I found you, I found Dr. Gasvini, I found this quantum lifestyle, the circadian lifestyle. And doing that and having that lifestyle has given me a lot more wiggle room in my life. If you
Yeah.
want to be carnivore forever, go for it. I don't have any problem with it. If someone wants to do that, that's their prerogative. But a lot of people are going to find that sort of a diet 100% of the time, their entire life, to not be fun, to be restrictive. And so, yeah, since I've adopted quantum and circadian principles in my life, I can, like I've said, eat dessert at Thanksgiving or Christmas and not feel terrible for days on end, not go into a binge or a crisis for months on end and not be able to recover from that. And that may not be the case for everyone, but I think it's important to step away from that perfection mindset, especially if it's no longer working for you.
That's a huge one I see in my community, because a lot of times what comes with it is a client who blames himself. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I was just following this, what I was told to do, and I'm just not doing cold plunges hard enough, or I'm not doing
Right.
ketosis hard enough. And
Right.
they start to blame themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, then that comes with a whole host of, emotional traumas also that are impacting the mitochondria, impacting the nervous system, impacting health. And so what I hope is coming across here is that, yes, while I don't want anyone eating processed junk food for the rest of their
Right.
lives, if they don't feel that it serves them, I also don't want you to say, "Uh-oh, it's the middle of December and I just ate a pineapple and now I've ruined my whole winter." Right.
Right.
Because that's
Right.
not the case either. Right. So
Right.
it's like finding the happy medium. And again, realizing the human body is very, very smart and it can
Mm-hmm.
adapt, and little exposures, little insults are actually hormetic. I mean,
Right.
this isn't a good time to introduce the concept of hormesis, right? Which is,
Right.
the body is designed to experience little deviations or little
Mm-hmm.
stressors, and then the body adapts and comes back to homeostasis from those
Yep.
stressors and becomes more resilient. So the biggest mindset shift for me was when I do something that I might not in the long run be supportive if I continue to do it. I have the mindset that's a hormetic stressor. I just stress my body out, and I'm giving my body a chance to become more resilient in case I'm
Mm-hmm.
exposed to that again. And that applies in a very classic way with things like exercise
Mm-hmm.
or cold or sauna, right? So the body is always meant to be exposed to these little insults, but then it's going to get more resilient. So it was a huge mindset shift for me to be like, oh, perhaps I should stop blaming myself for that, or feeling guilty or shameful about that nutrition choice or that particular thing that I did. And instead I just like, okay, little stressor, and my body is just building some resilience to it.
Exactly. And I mean, that was one of the crazy things for me with carnivore when I started actually doing some carb cycling with local seasonal carbs. My body started losing weight. And I was like, wait a second. Like, I thought that I had to do this strict zero carb, ketosis and fasting all the time thing to lose the weight. And my body was holding on to all this extra weight and inflammation. And then when I started maybe once a week, sometimes twice a week, having some, root vegetables, having some fruit in the summer, having some of these, like I said, local seasonal carbs, and occasionally have some ice cream in the middle of the summer, right?
Sure.
I would wake up the next day and be 5 pounds later. Right. And I'm like, wait a second, like there's something to that, of like, if we're always in this strict regimented condition, that our body becomes more stressed out. And so I think, yeah, adding these little hits, I think can be really, really helpful for some people.
Absolutely. If it physically, like you said, mentally, very, very
Mhm.
freeing.
Mentally, for sure. Yeah.
So maybe we can just dispel some myths, maybe in each of the categories that we've talked about before, like light. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things that we hear that clients and community members ask about a lot, that they're legitimately, they're very worried that they're messing
Hmm.
things up in the category of light. So
Yep.
one of the ones that I get is light coming in through the tops of the glasses,
Yes.
really
Tops and
freak, or
sides of
sides,
glasses.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yes. Does light come in through there? Sure. Is it by any means impacting those light receptors, those blue light receptors called melanopsin receptors in the eyes that signal the circadian rhythm, or would cause the cortisol to surge again at night after darkness? No, really, that's not the case. It's
Hmm.
very, very rare for that to happen. Even if the light is overhead, because the sun is overhead in the middle of the afternoon, but the glasses do a pretty darn good job of blocking the most important pathways, into
Yep.
the eyes. So not one that I'm concerned with, right?
Right.
If you're flipping on a light because you have to go into a room where you don't have circadian friendly lighting, you just got basic old LED
Hmm.
bulbs,
Hmm.
and it's 8 o'clock at night and the sun has
Hmm.
set. You got your blue blockers on. Is your skin going to be impacted from that because you had to go get whatever it was, a pot out of some closet? No, it's not, right? That's
No.
not going to be impacted. So
Mm.
yes, my skin did receive a bright burst of light, absolutely. But guess what's going to recover really quickly as soon as I flip that light off and that light environment goes away and it's dim and dark and I'm protecting my eyes, my body recovers perfectly from that
Hmm.
exposure. Those are two I get a lot, like a bright light on the skin or from a TV even.
Yep.
And that's another one, right? Like, so no, we weren't designed to cease to stare at TV
Mm-mm.
late into the night. And yes, TV screens flicker. And yes,
Yep.
that's a stressor. And yes, they're
Yep.
very, very bright. Absolutely. But is the joy I get on Sunday night watching football with my kids and my husband, with my blue blockers on, does that joy far outweigh the fact that there are some potential stressors? And do I still get to sleep at a circadian appropriate time? And do I still get a good circadian and solid sleep and wake up feeling refreshed? Yes. Yes, I do.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like both of us occasionally watch TV after sunset. But there's blue blockers on. Sometimes I'll put a little red light panel on the floor on to kind of offset some of that blue light. And
fire in the fireplace during the winter.
Yeah, always have a fire in the fireplace as long as the baby's asleep in my house.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. But yeah, absolutely, there's some TV on in the house. And so, yeah, I think people assume that since we talk about all this stuff and that it has been super life-changing for both of us, that we live this perfect life, kind of like the Amish, with no power and no entertainment and no TV, and eat perfectly, locally, seasonally, have everything delivered from the farm. No, that it just, life doesn't allow for that always, and there are times in your life that are more stressful that you can't do it. And again, that stress component is going to come in.
That's huge. It's huge. And I appreciate you saying that because that's exactly the case. And what I think I've become very comfortable with is my body does know if I've had like you said, after Thanksgiving desserts, my body knows to kind of shut that down because it doesn't feel supportive. It doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
And, just living this circadian lifestyle, I just was talking about this in my private community today, really allowed me to recognize seasonal cravings for what they are. Like
yes.
you could throw a fruit smoothie at me right now with that. I probably would have used to been like, oh yeah, fruit smoothie. I have zero desire for a fruit smoothie. So part of this is just kind of being consistent with the circadian stuff allows me then to also not have willpower. But then if I do have it, I like you said, I've got way more flexibility in terms of being like, oh, that was interesting. I tasted that. No, I don't want one every single morning. Right.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that. So it's one of those things, right? Don't drop the blame, but also then start to maybe get into your body and ask your body, okay, it's cold in Michigan right now. What am I craving? Well, I just had a big old bowl of Swedish meatballs before coming on here, right? My homemade Swedish meatballs. Hearty, warm
meat
stew.
Yeah,
broth and meat, onions. Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Are you talking middle of summer or like early spring even? I know, right? That's when we've said many times, that's salad. I like a salad, something lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I found that to be the most interesting thing is just how my cravings change and how I don't judge them. It's like I kind of almost view my body from an outside perspective of, what's my body asking for with that? And and as I said before, sometimes my body will crave. Like I'll go to the grocery store and I'll be like, wow, that container of sliced mangoes from Mexico looks amazing. And I buy it and I eat it. And I don't judge it. It's like, okay, right. Did I ruin everything about my day or my winter by doing that? Absolutely not. Maybe my body was really craving a nutrient that was in it, right? That I just was low on.
Right. But you're not on a regular, because I've seen on your YouTube channel, your quantum day, like how, your typical quantum day, you're not on the regular in the middle of winter, waking up and having a mango spinach smoothie every day with coconut water in it. Yeah. You're having eggs, with maybe some onions, some things like that in there, maybe some sauerkraut. You're really sticking to more of those heartier, like you said, the heartier winter foods. And if you get a craving like that and you have it once, maybe there was a reason for it. The body has innate wisdom and we're taught so much to override it. And I think that was my thing that I learned with carnivore is that for 2 years, I was completely overriding my body. And I think that there was an emotional aspect of that as well that finally kind of caught up with me. And that's why I was gaining the weight. And that's why I wasn't feeling as well. It's just my body was just asking me, I was craving the fruits, they did look really good. And I just kept, no, I'm doing this. Like I have to do this diet. And there's all these people that have been doing it for like decades plus, and they're so healthy, and look at them and I want to be like them. And you don't know what people are doing.
You don't,
like
do you? You really don't.
you really don't. And that's the other thing I've seen from kind of being in this online world for the last, I don't know, 4 years or so, is that there's a lot of people out there who do not practice what they preach. And it's to the detriment of their audience, because the audience lives in this place of like, I have to be stuck in this perfection lifestyle, diet, da da da. But this person kind of preaching this information is not living that lifestyle. And so, that's important, because there's people that are just not really transparent with what they're putting out there.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was starting to get into this health space more and more, this is probably almost 2 decades ago. I One of my mentors at the time, he still is really prominent in the space. I'm not going to mention his name, but I emailed him and I said, "Hey, I've got this professor at this local university who I'm teaching X, Y, and Z, but he's coming at me. He's basically claiming that what I'm saying is wrong and yada yada." And he gave me the best advice. He said, "Carrie, not everyone's going to agree with what you say. When you find information that's interesting and you resonate with it, take it and tuck it away and utilize it to the best of your ability. And if there's information that comes at you that doesn't resonate with you, tuck it away, but also discard it, right? You might not need it." And so there's no guru that's going to give everybody everything they absolutely need. If there was, that person would be, everyone else would be losing jobs, right? In terms of they have the solution. And if we only live exactly as they tell us, everything's going to be great. And so what I found in the course ever since I got that advice was really great. It wasn't, I got to memorize exactly what this person knows and be just like them. It was, wow, I really like what I learned about the gut microbiome from that person. Okay, I'm going to hold that perspective and kind of work with that. Wow, look what this person has to say about detoxification, circadian rhythm, hydration, right? And so I feel like what allowed me to live in my best health and then allowed my clients to feel supported is not just, here is your protocol, do not deviate from your protocol. It's, this is something that's worked with a lot of people. Does that resonate with you? Do you feel like you want to, does that fit? And then I work within one's residence. I want someone to kind of be their own guru, right? I want them to get in touch with their body. And if it doesn't resonate with you, like you might be someone whose body is begging for methylene blue because your mitochondria are tanked. But if the idea of a synthetic blue dye does not resonate with you,
don't do it.
We put it on the shelf. We table that one. Right. And so it just feels like I want people to really get in touch with what feels good to them. And your story was perfect. Like fruit sounded really good. And you were denying that, right. To try to live in this carnivore image. Right. And this image that you thought was going to help you attain ultimate health. And as your health started to deteriorate a little bit, it's like, it takes a strong person to be like, okay, wait a second. What's going on? Maybe I don't have the complete picture. And I give you so much credit, Sarah, because you built an entire online platform and
around it,
right? And for you to be able to pivot and say incomplete, not the whole picture. This is really, the direction that I found a lot of benefit in. It just says a lot about you. It says a lot about your ability to be open-minded with this. And that's kind of the journey that I've been taking this whole time. And I hope other people take as well. Open-minded, don't judge yourself too much. If information is interesting and you resonate with it, dive a little bit deeper into it, maybe experiment with it. And if it doesn't work for you, like if being in a 4.0 ketosis and doing 30-minute cold plunges every single day doesn't work for you, then it's okay to discard it.
I don't know anybody who that's going to be good for.
Just don't do that in general.
Maybe like once a month or something, that'd be okay. But not as a regular thing, you want to be pushing your body that hard. Yeah. And I think that's, I am glad that I had the opportunity to kind of come out and speak on these things, because once I did that, the door was open for so many other people. And my community is full of people who were doing this lifestyle, a super regimented carnivore or even keto lifestyle for years on end and had the same exact experience. But what you see online again is people that are like, no, I have been doing this for, 10 years and look how fabulous I am, and look how perfect my life is and look at how healthy I am. And you're just doing it wrong. You just need to do it harder or more. You're doing it wrong, right? It's very common in diet communities. It used to be that way in the vegan community, and now it's the carnivore thing and the keto thing, and it's like it's just everywhere. If it's not working for you, then you're just not doing it right. And we're all individual, right? There's bioindividuality for everything. So somebody might be great with 3 cold plunges a week. Somebody might throw them into a sympathetic state and negate all the benefits. And so that they can't get out of, right? Because you're going to go in a little sympathetic state when you do the cold, but your body should be a good thing. It should be a hormetic stressor. But again, for somebody that might be too much.
Low leptin, if they have low leptin. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a low leptin person, which a lot of these carnivore keto people who've been that way long term.
Yes.
You're already kind of in that sympathetic state and you are in a low leptin state. And so you gotta find what works best for you, and, don't make yourself wrong if you're following a protocol that so-and-so put on their YouTube channel or on their Instagram page and it's not working for you. It's okay.
Sure. Here's another one. Occasionally when I go out to a restaurant with my husband, I drink the tap water.
Oh,
I know. Sometimes I'm just thirsty and I'm like,
right.
Well, sure. I'm going to suck up some fluoride and some whatever the else heck is in there. But my body's just like, drink some water. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because you're thirsty.
I'll drink the water because I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I guess these are things that people would never expect. Right. It's like, no, I don't carry the perfect bottle of water everywhere all the time. I try, right. I try to have something like this on hand. This is a Flaska, by the way. I really like it. It's a really great glass water bottle.
Glass, yeah.
But sometimes that's not the case. So, and if I can't get, if I can't get a Pellegrino or if I can't get a Perrier or something, it's like, okay, tap water it is. Here we go. Right.
Exactly.
Can my body handle that little insult of fluoride and who the heck knows what else is in there? Yes. And guess what? It is self-limiting because I take 3 or 4 sips to quench my thirst. And then I'm like, ooh, this just tastes toxic. So I
know. That's the way I am too. I'm like, if I really need it, I will have a little bit, but I probably won't drink very much. And I'll get home and have the good stuff.
It down. Exactly.
Exactly.
What else? Oh, are there nights where we don't turn whoever's the last person
forget to turn the Wi-Fi off?
Yeah, absolutely. That happens, okay.
Yeah.
Again, it's consistency. It's not the end of the world at all. Oh, here's another one, Sarah. I feel like this is confession hour. One time, Sarah and I had to chat, and the only time I could talk with her was hands free from the car. And that might have happened twice, actually, Sarah.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay. Not ideal, right? That is a high or non-native EMF environment, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Right. Right. We're human. And like you say, you do your best when you can. And there's going to be times when you can't be perfect, it's just going to happen. And there's going to be situations that you cannot control. A kid that won't sleep, if that's going to happen. And I get that all the time from people. My kid won't sleep, or just family stuff that happens. Like you can't control it. And so you have to control what you can. Put on blue blockers, right? Rest when you can and not get all in your head and freak out about it. Know that it's temporary, that it will pass. And just do your best, and I think spouses are a hard one. I'd love to hear your take on this, Carrie. I've got someone in my group right now that their husband will not turn the TV off in the bedroom at night. For me, that would be I just said, can you sleep somewhere else? Because that's just for me. I wouldn't do that. It's just a major, major health hazard, but one of the coaches in my group said, well, maybe get a screen to cover the screen so it's yellow or red.
Or some of these TVs, can get put on a timer too. Because I know people used to sleep with, like, they'll sleep with it on all night long and they'll just be on.
Exactly.
And so
Yeah.
you can get TVs that can go on a timer so that at least, by 10 p.m. or you determine a time that it'll be off. I mask for that one, right? So like if ever I'm in a tiny hotel room with the fam and my husband's staying up later watching, my go-to is an eye mask and a hooded sweatshirt.
Yep.
And I feel totally protected. It's like my little cocoon.
Yeah, the eye mask is huge. Like I even wear an eye mask at home because my husband still will get up in the night and turn the freaking bathroom light on, which is attached to the bedroom, which he knows makes me mad. He's gotten a lot better about it because I've yelled at him enough times, but I just keep my eye mask on.
Same. Yeah.
Because I don't know if he's going to flip on that bathroom light and blast me. And even if he did, I would still be able to go back to sleep.
You'll still go back to sleep.
Like
you feel worse for his body.
I know. I worry about him. I'm like, don't go in there and look at your phone and don't turn that light on.
That's another one though. Like a quick glimpse of the phone. Like let's say you forgot to mitigate your screen or you had your blue blockers on and then all of a sudden in the middle of the night you wake up and you want to know what time it is and you forget that your phone is bright. Is that one glance at that phone gonna affect the whole night or everything you've ever done? No, it's not. It's not. It's another one. Let me think of a couple more. Oh, what do you think? Like, let's see. Oh, I mean, is it ideal to touch the bare earth where they've sprayed glyphosate?
Oh yeah, that's
Probably
a big one I get from people. Yeah.
Not
don't earth if there's been spray, if they've been sprayed. Yeah, I mean, probably not ideal. That's where I would opt for concrete.
Sure. Or wear some earthing shoes on that.
Earthing shoes.
I mean, you can't control everything. Have I decided at the park with my, just to take my feet off while my kids are playing on the playground and just touch the bare earth because it was so nice and felt so good? Yeah, sure I did.
Exactly. And I found out when we bought this house, they had been spraying everything because everything was so perfect and pristine. They had no children. And so this house was like their baby. And so, everything had been sprayed and I freaked out and I'm like, before we stopped spraying, we bought the house in February. We didn't even move in until like July. And so I had them stop spraying in February when we bought it. And now there's like little weeds, this was 2022. And there's like little weeds everywhere. It kind of gets on my husband's nerves. I'm like, I'm not having people spray all that.
That's crap. A good sign, right? That's a good sign.
I'm like, it's good. We want the little weeds. Because we don't, but I still think like grounding is better than not grounding. And then people worry about the non-native EMF with grounding. That's a big one that I hear.
And big fear one too. Yeah. A lot of people are afraid of that.
I mean, does it make you feel bad? Are you feeling electrosensitive when you ground on an area that's high non-native EMF? Is that happening for you? Or like,
are you afraid of
are you scared of it? Because like Dr. Conover on my podcast a few weeks ago, and you've talked about this study before too, the studies that they did with babies in the NICU with grounding mats showed that the babies healed like ridiculously faster with those grounding mats.
Right.
And that is the most high non-native EMF environment that you could pretty much get into is
toxic light, toxic lighting,
babies hooked up to all these wires. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So that's a thing, right? I think that's another example of just this perfectionist mindset and kind of making it a fear-driven thing where it's like, oh no, never do this. It's going to hurt you. Versus let's take a step back, right? Let's take a step back. And again, that's where I have that internal resonance. It's like my resonance meter that goes off. Mm-hmm. There are certain places where I just don't feel good wearing my earthing shoes, like my earth runner sandals or something like that. Yep. But there are places where maybe there's EMFs, that are coming through the buried cables or something. And I don't care. I feel good. It makes me feel really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. I think people just get attached to, like I said, what specific people say without seeing if that really resonates with them and if that information really works for them. And that's what you and I really want to encourage people to do. I know you do that in your community, and I try to do that in my community too, is to step out of that, like, this person says I should do these things and, I'm doing them and I don't feel great. I'm doing this and it's not working for my lifestyle. Like, that's where you have to take a step back. And, you know, I've unfollowed a lot of people and stopped unsubscribed to a lot of people because I've kind of, as I go through life, become just a lot more less dogmatic about things. Because I find that being this regimented, dogmatic person is not healthy at all. And I don't think it's healthy for anybody,
Yeah, I agree completely. And it feels good to kind of just let people know that this is, I had one woman who was just thrilled that she could still have a cup of coffee every morning. She's like, I know I need to give up my cup of coffee. And I'm like, why? Does it bring you joy?
I know. A lot of people think like if they come to my group or do my programs that they have to give up coffee. And you don't necessarily have to give up coffee, but just wait until after you've seen some sun and eaten something. Just don't drink it on an empty stomach. That's like, I think the most important thing, especially if you have a cortisol issue,
Sure, exactly.
It's like people ask me, can I do this, 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 and this? And I'm like, why are you asking me for permission? I'm not your mom. But in all seriousness, are your hormones really screwed up? Do you have really bad insomnia? Do you have poor health? If so, then you may want to consider doing these things. But if you're feeling generally pretty good, maybe you don't need to go to like quit coffee and like, get super restrictive with your diet and all this stuff. Like maybe it's not necessary for you to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the human body has adapted to live in so many different conditions. There's so many different types of nutrient exposures and macro exposures that really we're a fairly resilient species.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. That's kind of how I view it. And being in my state of just what I feel like is thriving, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I feel like I've built some really good resilience. I've got some guidelines in place that I'd like to live by as much as possible, with the light, with the water, with earthing, with love, with patience, with gratitude, with joy. There's a whole emotional component to it that I've really wanted to work on, that I've really worked on as well, that I think is so important and drastically overlooked, especially in this quantum health space. And gosh, it just feels good to both have a lifestyle that feels that there's flexibility, but also makes me feel like I'm doing really darn good for my health.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's what is sustainable for you. What is something that you can do long term? And, some people might feel better and safer with a regimented list that they follow every single day. And if you do, and that's you, then cool. But that's not really the majority of people that are out there, that they want some wiggle room for life. They want to go on that vacation, or they want to have the, birthday cake, or they want to go to the party, and I don't drink, but maybe they do want to have the one glass of wine, but they're not sitting at home every night drinking a bottle of wine, They don't think that's a good idea, but they might, if they're out at a party, have the drink or have the cake or whatever, So yeah, I think that's really the overall message is like, don't aim for perfection, and don't hold yourself to a standard that, such and such guru says you should, because a lot of times they're not holding themselves to that standard behind the camera. And you have to find what's going to work for your family and for yourself that's sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do also subscribe to the idea of 2% changes make a difference.
Yes. Yes.
Right. That's the only way I was able to get to this point, really. If I were to give a client right now the list of probably the 200 changes I've made in my life over the course of 2 decades,
would freak out.
They would freak out. It's a recipe for failure. So really understand that these 2% changes add up, and you reach this critical threshold where your body's like, okay, sweet. Right. And then, and so that's the other thing too. Again, like little baby steps really, really do matter. Obviously that's the principle behind atomic habits, but I really find it in clinical practice, it's the only way to start to layer things on for people is to do this kind of gradual process. And if you got family members who think this quantum health stuff is just weird as all heck, right? Whack as all heck. Just do know that even if they do a couple of things that they might subscribe to,
better.
It matters. It absolutely matters.
Exactly. Yeah. I like to think of that as getting all the artificial overhead lights out of the house and like having lamps or red light bulbs in the house after sunset. I know that's helping my husband, who stubbornly still looks at his phone and does the things that I would not do that make me feel bad. I can't force him into that, but I know that the little things, little changes that I've made around here, that they do help, they do help him. And maybe one day he'll want to do all the weird stuff that I do, but I'm not going to force it. It's about attraction, not promotion. And, people have to kind of see you and see you transform and change and the good that's happening with you. And then maybe they'll, oh, let me try that. But if you go around like crazy, freaking everybody out and yelling at everyone for turn on the lights or whatever, it's not going to attract them to make these lifestyle changes. It's not going to bode well for most kids and most husbands or wives. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. And so I hope this gives people just a little bit of our perspective. We're by no means perfect with this. We've realized what really matters and what we love to do, try to do consistently on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And yeah, there is room for wiggle room if that sounds like it's something that you resonate with.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, progress, not perfection, 2% better. Don't drive yourself crazy.